Hey friends of the forest, hope all is well. Welcome to another edition of Foragers Broadcast. Walking through the woods here. Just came after quite a mighty cold. Lots of self-treatment and exploration of plant allies, and really enjoying the beauty of this day and the geese overhead. Nice, looks amazing. So welcoming all of you. Hope it's been wonderful holy days, whatever it is that you celebrate or explore. I found that I've been going on these, I've been quote unquote sicker than, I've been getting these colds where I'll just basically be laid out for like 3 days, and I have intense dreams, and I'll just have these rapid fire intense dreams and be able to kind of ask any questions and just receive these long detailed dreams, answers, feeling like communication with deeper levels of people and beings and resolution with issues, and kind of in this delirious flu state, or so to speak, and really trying to nurture that process and know that it is an awakening that's occurring as my senses just detoxify. Many blessings, Roger. Welcome. And so I'm trying to go with this, despite the oddness that, I'm taking more adaptogenic herbs, I'm taking more immunomodulating herbs and detoxifying herbs than I really have ever been taking, and yet I find, and maybe it's just hang out with a 2-year-old, hanging out with sage definitely does a number, but I've been finding that I'm just getting into these like flu-like states, and I know that they're significant, and it reminds me in my childhood that I actually used to get these issues, and it was called a sinus infection, and I'd be put on codeine from a very young age, and I was just out flying around in the universe and having these kind of visionary trance states. So I know that cold and flu season is around, so it's really another great factor to just explore it and to see what herbs feel called. So it definitely gives you that first-hand experience under your belt, working with cold and flu, and really working on that, so you can see I'm either Planticlaus or Daniel the red-nosed elf boy right now. Lots of boogers came out, and of course, I'm thinking, what is in there? What is going on in there? What is in my lymph system? Well, I'd been vaccinated, I'd been given pharmaceuticals, so, I'd grown up on really horrendous foods, so, I think a lot about tonifying the lymph system and really helping the lymphatic system purge all that material that could still potentially be in there, so I'm seeing some questions. Let's see, get to this one. Ma Bar asks, are there any suggestions for tooth abscesses? Abscesses are tough because they're pretty much one of the scariest, most dangerous things, because of course a tooth abscess can go up into your sinus cavity, or even worse if unchecked, to the brain. For pain, for tooth pain, some of my favorites are clove, thieves oil. That's the one time I had some really intense tooth pain a couple weeks ago, and I took a piece of cotton. It was actually a piece of my pants. That's all I had. I was in the woods, and I soaked it in thieves oil, which I happen to have, and I kept it on my tooth, in my gums all night, and that really helped for the pain. Another favorite of mine is, if you have cloves, that also works, but another favorite is kava kava. It's just numbs the gums like nothing, but that's just treatment of symptoms, and alone, that's not necessarily going to help. Once I started flossing that area, even though it was somewhat painful, and just really trying to keep that area cleaner, the pain has not happened again. So I suspect I don't have a tooth abscess, so it's a very different thing. That was just some sort of tooth pain or mild infection. So the clove, etc., help to reduce the inflammation. So that's always a really important factor of a tooth abscess or anything going on in the mouth, is essentially a oral infection. And when you use herbs, which are anti-inflammatory, say turmeric or kava, they're going to reduce or tighten up the gum line, which is actually going to expose that infection more towards your body's immune functions. So, working on that level, and that's sort of topical, even though it's in your mouth, oil pulling as well, things like that. Then dealing with your immune system and trying to bolster your immune system to deal with any kind of infection. But definitely monitoring that with x-rays is also going to be really important. So there's a billion and one immune bolstering or sort of immune supportive herbs. Echinacea tincture might be helpful in that case. So those are some herbs to look at for that. But don't just go for the old New Age, I took a couple tea bags and hope that the abscess goes away kind of phenomena. This is so much what I find myself refuting with people in the herbal world, is people taking too little of herbal remedies and too unvaried, and then also getting in the position of hoping to just forget about it, or not looking to, say, medical testing, which, a doctor doesn't do testing, neither does an herbalist, but a lab does. And that a doctor has all that connection into a laboratory because they work for the system, and an herbalist doesn't. So, proper insurance, whatever that would mean, would enable both sides, both parties, to be able to send samples into a laboratory to get test results. Those are really important. I've heard people claim that, you could just replace that with muscle testing. Well, let's not make an either or, and let's muscle test and do a lab test and see if they're the same. And if they're not, let's consider. We should always be humble and careful, and it's not back to nature. There's nothing to get rid of. It's return to nature, which is that we can take the best 5% of the old paradigm that we know is failing and dying, and still move forward into a sustainable and green world using the best 5% of what we've learned about allopathic medicine or bone healing or things like that, So I hope that helps a little bit. Many blessings from Slovenia, Lila. Hope it's nice and full of mushrooms there. I'm sure it is. Ian mentions totally sick right now and a lot of people around me. So Ian, one of the things I did, which my previous Foragers broadcast, I mentioned this, but what I was hitting up is I had about 4 or 5 tinctures. They could have easily been in one bottle. A formula is just individual tinctures mixed together. So I'd been drinking lots of herbal teas, switching up all kinds of herbs, anything immune supportive, anti-mucus, expectorant, immune boosting, immune supporting, and then the tinctures, so tea all day, and then tinctures, plus my Elder Elixir, I was drinking like tons of it, and then tinctures including Osha, as I mentioned, Elder Elixir, which is not a tincture, burdock, what else did I have going on? Let's see. Oh, cat's claw. So that is a really good combination, burdock, Osha, cat's claw. So you get, the cat's claw is, lymphatic cleansing as well as immuno supportive, and then the Osha is really good for the respiratory system, the throat, infection, anything like that, and then the burdock is helping to just continue to detoxify us and support the immune system, because basically what's happening is the body is killing off a bacteria or a virus, or purging dead cells or toxins or heavy metals or whatever, and the body is then trying to purge that out either through the sinuses, through pee or poop, or sweat. and that's the body's cleansing process. So, you know, one of the things I'm contemplating as my body goes through this process is how we are so mistaken about how we view illness or sickness or a cold or a flu, you know, blaming it on bacteria or viruses instead of looking towards, well, I have a buildup of toxins in my lymphatic system, and perhaps that's really the cause of all these symptoms, and it's likely that that is actually true. So when we're, you know, we blame a virus or we blame a bacteria for proliferating, but what if the virus or the bacteria proliferates because the body is too full of junk? You know, it's too toxified. I mean, look at the environment, you know, too much Lysol inhalation or too much pesticides in the air or you know, particulate matter from motorways and things like that, you know, causing the lymphatic system to build and build and build and get full of toxins. And lymph cleansing is very difficult and also very hard to maintain in this day and age unless you're exercising, jumping around like a maniac, sweating, you know, taking lymphatic herbs, which is something that I've been working really hard on, so it may be why my body's kicking up all this wonderful mucus. So just some things to think about in cold and flu season. Also, apple cider vinegar is just a real great expectorant. You know, that's how I make my Elder Elixir is apple cider vinegar, raw honey, and elder decoction, and those together in combination is how I make Elder Elixir. And that's just an amazing expectorant, you know, stuff that feels like stuck in the lungs and stuck in the throat, it just comes right out. You just purge the demons that way. The knowledge is the cure, Brooks mentions. Yes, it is totally true. Susan mentions rebounding. I'm not sure what that is. And shaking, chi machine, lymph maintenance. Yeah, I'm a big fan of, you know, hot baths, shaking, you know, even palpating the lymph nodes, those areas, you know, pranayama, kriyas, you know, kundalini yoga kriyas, all those things feel very deeply cleansing to the lymph system. So, oh, reishi is another herb that I was taking, mushroom that I was taking for that formula. So that's osha, reishi, burdock, and cat's claw. That would make a really good cold and flu formula. So that's what I was working with this time. So 2 days, 3 days. This time it was 3 days. Last time it was 2 days. Last time I also had straight visions about Standing Rock and felt like I couldn't stop flying over that area and asking elders what was going on and just having a complete bird's eye view of that phenomena, that situation. So Michael mentions reishi, turkey tail, and chaga. Very good combination. I find though that the medicinal mushrooms are not sufficient alone for dealing with a cold or flu, meaning that for a cold or a flu, those medicinal mushrooms should have been 2 months ago. You know, it's like I actually made like 2 gallons of reishi and I've been taking it pretty much non-stop since I made it. And so I think that's also part of what's happening is I'm just going through a deeper level of cleansing out whatever it is, the hot pockets out of my lymph system and the honey nut Cheerios and all that nasty stuff. So I'm all for getting it out, you know. It's not as bad as drinking ayahuasca and vomiting out colors. So it feels pretty much parallel to that. So yeah, those medicinal mushrooms are really helpful for general, you know, I think of they're slow growing, and they're also slow acting, meaning that they're very helpful and nurturing for the immune system, but immunomodulation is something that takes 6 months or 2 years to really develop this system, situation where we're not getting, you know, where we're reversing the effects of autoimmunity and things like that. See what else is going on down here. Where am I? I actually never tell anybody where I am because that is my little safeguard. So I'm in the forest and it's an amazing magical forest, but I'm not going to tell you where I exactly am ever. That's the way I can stay sneaking in the woods like a little elf without anyone coming to find me. Except for the NSA, because they're basically GPS tracking me all the time. So Michael mentions starting a huge return to nature style gardening with my disc golf friends, starting in Boulder, Colorado. Disc golf gardeners, nice. Garden and disc golf, that's great. You throw a frisbee and you eat some chickweed. Great idea. Sounds great, man. Way to go. In person. So Dave asked me to remind you all that January 21st I'll be teaching a class in New Brunswick, New Jersey, all about basically immune support over the winter, herbs and tincture preparation, etc. for colds and flu. Basically immune support workshop, so that'll be coming up soon. That's January 21st, so I'll have that up on my website, returntonature.us, soon enough, so be in touch with that. Michael mentions nettle tea keeps his nose free, uncongested. Nettle is really amazing for congestion. So actually is caffeine. Symptomatically, so that really helps to open up the sinus passages. But like nettle, you are getting that mineral base, so nettle is really helpful for restoring the body's expenditure, for something like getting sick or feeling low energy. So nettle's really helpful for kind of building up the chi, right? And then it's also giving you that antihistamine effect. So you are going to open your sinuses that way. That's why it's really helpful for allergies, colds, things like that. Let's see what else is going on. Aren't I cold? No, it's actually quite warm today. Unseasonably warm, so it's really beautiful. But wool socks, lots of hair, really helps, so it's not too cold. Beth asks, other than Michael Cottingham, do I know of any other sources where you can sustainably purchase OSHA? Unfortunately, no, and Michael is my go-to man, and I basically would buy like a pound a year and just make a gallon of tincture from that, and that's really how I'm getting through with the OSHA blues. It seems to be pulled off of all the herb distributors' shelves, which is good, because we don't want to lose OSHA. We don't want to lose that plant. Although Michael is harvesting it's not Ligusticum porteri. There's hundreds, I think, at least tens of Ligusticum species, as well as, it's a really interesting thing. Lovage used to be a Ligusticum, and it actually got changed. So it's really interesting that if you taste lovage, it really has those similar alkaloid tastes. So that might be a really great substitute and very easy to grow and very climate hardy. So we might want to consider looking to lovage. Look to lovage for a quote-unquote replacement for OSHA. And of course there's no replacement it's not a one-to-one situation, but it's kind of like 99 and 99, meaning there's 99 chemicals in this one and there's an overlap of 99, and maybe there's 5 to 7 ones that might be I'm gonna turn off all those messages at the top of the screen. There might be some really unique alkaloids and chemistry within lovage that OSHA doesn't have, which are immune helping everything. So be careful where you get your OSHA root. It's pretty hard to come by these days if you're looking for all the herb distributors, but be sustainable with all herbs, and especially native rare herbs, and OSHA is one of them. So it's constantly a thing we should be mindful of. Where do we get our plants, and who's treating them how? So I know Michael Cottingham puts a lot of love into that OSHA patch, and that's really what we need. We need caretakers for the landscape, so that's important. Katie says, hi Dan, hello. Yeah, Beth, just maybe send him a private message. I think he basically does it once a year so that it doesn't get over harvested, but if you send him a message, he might be down. Katie mentions, can I give some tips about making a reishi extract? So by extract, extract is somewhat of a general term. So I could see a decoction as an extract. So to make a decoction, you basically just simmer, similar to what you would do with a crock pot, or you use medium heat, and you don't want to boil necessarily. So usually to make a decoction, I'll bring it to a boil and then bring it down just before it starts to bubble, and then you want to take time, so maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes of simmering. Then as you're mentioning, an extract with spirits would more be about, first of all, if I'm wild harvesting the reishi, I want to slice it thin before it dries. It makes a huge difference, so you always want to slice the reishi and dry it out as slices, because when you get to the next step, which is that you really want to powder all of your medicinal mushrooms before you make extracts of any sort out of them, because they have a lot of chitin, they have a lot of cellulose, fiber, things that get in the way of extraction. So the more you can grind it down towards something like a powder, the better. And if you start taking chunks, and even if you put reishi mushroom chunks in a Vitamix, you can definitely break even a Vitamix on that. So if they're slices, though, much easier. So the next step would be put it in a coffee grinder, a spice grinder, good old mortar and pestle, or a Vitamix, or whatever blender you think can handle it. And you would want to break up that reishi as small as you possibly can. And then you would, of course, do an extract with alcohol, and usually 50% is pretty good. That's what I work with a lot. Some will argue more, some will argue less. So then you just want to make probably a 1 to 2 or a 1 to 4 just offhand, depending on how much reishi you have. So that means 1 part volume to 2 parts weight, maybe. Weight to volume tinctures. Oops, pressing buttons. So that means, let's see, thinking after a cold is always no fun. So you want to do basically a 1 to 2 means 1 part to 2 parts herb, right? 1 part herb to 2 parts menstruum. So that means if you're doing 1 ounce of herb, you want to do 2 ounces of tincture, or sometimes that doesn't work when you're dealing with herbs, so then you could do 4 ounces. So you want to follow something like that, or you just top it off to where the reishi is sufficiently covered, and that's a simple version. And then you want to shake that and leave it for a month, and then strain it out as best you can. Another way of straining, which might be helpful, is look up a potato ricer. Those are kind of devices for making sort of like potato pancakes, but they're very helpful for straining out alcohol out of herbs like reishi, or mushrooms like reishi, which are very spongy, so they hold a lot of the alcohol. Once you have that tincture, that's part of a double extracted tincture, which is a decoction and a tincture. So lots of debate and argument and discussion about that as well. Yeah, Beth mentions, good to know about lovage. Definitely check that out. I definitely looked into the Latin. It used to be ligusticum. Now it's changed because some geneticist or botanist got bored in a laboratory. So Katie mentions, what is the shelf life for the decoction? That's the problem with decoctions. If you make a decoction, it's not going to last more than 5 days, say. So that's why we use alcohol as at least a stabilizer, if not a solvent or extraction medium. So a decoction is not going to last very long, but if you make it fresh, then that's part of your ritual, is to make your teas or simmer your goodness down. So sometimes I'll take chaga and powder it and make about 6 cups to 8 cups of chaga, and that'll be about 2 days of tea. And then any tea I want to have, I'll just pour the hot chaga brew over that, and that will give me chaga as a base plus whatever tea I'm interested in. Reservoir. No, not at the reservoir, Deb. So let's see. Here comes Planticlaus. Here comes Planticlaus scooping up lion's mane. Nice, Billy. Planticlaus. Michael says, thanks so much, paving the way for us forested foragers to join online out in the forest. You amp me up to do the same thing in the woods here in the beautiful Nebraska. Awesome to hear. Get out there, explore the world. As Frank Cook used to say, eat something wild every day, or at least try to incorporate at least the communion with the earth however you can. You don't even need to go outside to commune with the earth. Remember, everything around you is somehow the earth, and the energy of the earth comes to you if you ask it to. So remember that sacred connection that we always have, and really sustain yourselves this winter. Feel the blessings of the earth, Mother Earth, the sunset. The power of the cosmos is inside of you always. Your fingernails are made out of stardust, and there's nothing you can do about it. Every time you clip your fingernails, you're getting rid of silica that has been birthed approximately 11 billion years ago. So just remember that your biological waste is 11 billion year old material, and try to separate yourself from nature. So, just to remind you, I'll have some upcoming classes coming up. We're almost at our goal of the crowdfunding campaign. Please consider making any and all donations, and if you have some extra spending cash from the holidays, consider we have a lot of herbal goods up there, as well as t-shirts, mentorships, all kinds of stuff coming up. So the GoFundMe site there to help Dan get a van plan so that I can tour around and continue to teach and webcast and meet teachers and do interviews. I'm really excited to have somebody right here being like blah 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 blah. That's not me, which then we can have a dialogue about, which will be respected elders and teachers that I appreciate. So that's all coming in 2017. We're almost to our goal with the van plan. I'm looking at this van, debating. It's only a rear-wheel drive. It makes me a little concerned because part of the deal is to go off-road and camp wherever the hell I want and be kind of hidden in this van, but apparently rear-wheel drives get stuck all the time. So kind of debating that, still on the move with that. Going to check some van pretty close by for rust on the bottom, working on that, so you can see that post pretty closely. But check out the GoFundMe page at gofundme.com/return to nature. Lots of good herbal goodies. Lauren, Elfin sister, and I have been working really hard making all these herbal goodies. So upcoming is that next year, 2017, we're going to have a 4 seasons herbal CSA or CSH, whatever you like, which will be 4 seasonal packages, which will have lots of goodies, all for seasonal wellness: tinctures, herbal chocolates, herbal honeys, salves, tea blends, all kinds of goodies. So we're going to release that soon. I'll be writing more about my exploits, adventures with the van plan very soon. Anybody could check that out. Definitely hooking Angie and Sage up in that plan of touring around, planning to basically, I know rough plans are possibly from July to October or so, head west and go on tour and visit lots of you and hang with Angie and Sage doing herbal consultations, workshops. Angie will have her massage license and we'll busk and play music all over, and Sage will be our drummer as well as dancer. So that's all to come in 2017. Basically planning on starting up teaching in the spring in the Jersey area. So hope to meet you all and hope to keep connecting and sending you lots of love. Also, just one more thing, if you've been on my website recently, what is it called? What do I use? WordPress has deleted all the paragraph spacing on at least half the articles on my website. So whoops, but that's so annoying that basically if I can't figure it out with like one button, or if anybody knows anybody who can help, I'm just gonna abandon that, because that sounds like a mess of hours and hours of putting in paragraphs again, which I already had there, which WordPress ruined. And of course nobody has a help or support system anymore. So just all fun updates in the world of living life as a weed. So sending you all many blessings, much love. Keep praying for the waters, keep praying for the earth. Remember your purpose and keep questing. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.